Hi, everybody. This is Dustin with www.gamblingonfreedom.com. I am a certified hypnotherapist who specializes in problem gambling, gambling addiction, compulsive gambling. And in today's video, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you're not chasing losses. You're not actually chasing wins. What you're actually chasing is a feeling. And it's going to be like this for any problem, but essentially, we're always just chasing a feeling. And to give you some understanding of that, how could that be? Why is that? Well, we're chasing a feeling because whenever we feel something, we have a natural tendency to make that feeling mean something, right? So, what we make something mean, okay, determines what we believe. What we believe determines the sort of thoughts that we think on a daily basis. Those thoughts create how we feel. Those feelings will propel us into action and behavior. So those feelings then promote action, and then the actions give us our results, and then the results feed back the meanings and the beliefs of whatever that feeling or that thing is. Right. So, what do I mean by that? Well, let's just take a couple scenarios. So, one scenario, you have a truck of soldiers, and they're in the Middle East, and they're driving down the way, and all of a sudden, right? They land on a landmine or something, and the soldiers get blown up, unfortunately, right? Imagine that in that group of soldiers, two of the soldiers in that truck had their left arm blown off, right? Let's just say that's the scenario. Well, when you look at those two soldiers, there's a good chance that there'll be two different paths that those people take. So one of those soldiers who got the left arm sort of taken off, they might go now to the dive bar and start drinking themselves because they made that their arm mean that their life was over, essentially, right? Whereas the other person who had the exact same arm taken off, they might become a youth leader, right? They made it mean that their life meant something, and it's their job now to teach, right? So what they made it mean determined where they went in life, the dive bar or youth leader and recruiter and whatever else. So what we make something mean determines what we believe, how we think, what we feel, the actions we take, and the results we get. And those results feed back the meaning and belief. So I'll give you another example. Imagine I'm driving to work and I'm late for work. Let's say I'm late for work, I'm driving to work, and somebody cuts me off, right? Somebody cuts me off, and I get stuck behind a light, right? And I make that interaction mean that because he cut me off, uh, I am now going to be late for work, right? Let's just say he cuts me off, I get stuck behind a light. I am now making that mean that I'm going to be late for work. So I believe that I'm going to be late for work. If I believe I'm going to be late for work, the thoughts I think might be, what if I'm late for work? What if I lose my job? What if I can't pay the mortgage? What if my family can't eat, in 3 weeks? What if this and what if that and what if this and what if that? And we'll have all these what if thoughts, and then those what if thoughts are going to create a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of pain, sadness, emotional turmoil. And then those feelings are going to turn into action. So now let's just say my action is that I need to get to work on time. I just got stopped at a light. This guy cut me off, which means I'm going to be late. So what are my thoughts of all these what if things, my feelings, the negative emotional feelings, anxiety, fear, sadness, whatever. So my action probably will be that I speed, right? So now I'm speeding to work, and my result could be that I got stopped by a cop, and now I owe a speeding ticket. And in that time, I am now actually late for work. So what happens? Those results that I'm late for work now feed back the meaning and belief, and it reinforces the fact that this guy cut me off, and therefore that means I'm going to be late for work, right? But instead, if I would have made it mean that this person was just in a rush, right? This person's in a rush, there's an emergency happening, right? They cut me off, I get stuck behind the light, I'm already a little late for work, right? But I make it mean that they're, just in a rush, that there's an emergency happening. So my belief is that they're in a rush and there's an emergency happening. My thoughts that I might think are, I wonder what's happening. I wonder what the rush is. I wonder, how much of an emergency it actually is. My feelings behind those thoughts are probably pretty neutral. Doesn't have anything to do with me. So, they're pretty neutral. So what is my action? My action is that I drive to work in normal speeds. My result is that I make it to work. And so what does that do? That feeds back my meaning and belief that this guy or this person who cut me off was in a rush and they had an emergency to attend to. Right. So what we make something mean determines everything. Okay. It determines what you believe, what you think, how you feel, the actions you take, the results you get. Those results feed back your meanings and beliefs. So why is this important to a gambling context? Well, I wonder what you making chasing a win mean? What are you making uh, needing a jackpot mean? Right. So what are you making it all mean? Is something that you could ask yourself. What are you making this mean? What are you making that mean? And then go through the chain. So what I'm making it mean, let's just say, I'll just give an example. Um, what I make gambling mean is that at least I'll get out of, then I won't feel this bad stuff anymore. So my belief is that if I go gamble, then I won't feel this bad stuff anymore. My thought might be, what if I win? What if I get the jackpot this time? What if I have a good time? What if I just stop thinking about that stuff for just a little bit? What if I get my mind off of it? What if I, uh, you know, meet people that I've never met before? Whatever. And then my feelings might be exciting, right? Oh, I might get a jackpot. I might get friends. I might have somebody else to come to the casino with. I might, win money. I might profit. I might whatever. And so now the feelings are excitement, right? Because of all those thoughts, excitement, happiness, joy, positive thoughts. That's where the cravings come from, right? And then my actions are that I go, right? I go to the casino, I gamble. My result, right? Let's just say maybe I won. Let's just say I won the night and I come out profitable. Well, that's definitely going to reinforce the meaning and belief that gambling will relieve my emotional pain, right? Because it did, and I won, and I'm happier, and I feel good. And so what happens? Well, I want to do it again the next time, right? And even if I didn't make off in that situation, like let's say I didn't profit, that result would still feed back the meaning and belief that if I go gamble, then this emotional pain will leave because it did, right? So in the midst of gambling, I was relieved. Sometimes at the end of the night, I don't even care that I lost the money because all I really cared about was escaping the feeling from beforehand, right? So what we make something mean determines everything, and we're always chasing a feeling. It's never the experience. It's never actually the situation or the experience that we're either afraid of or even want. It's the feeling behind that experience that we either don't want or we do, right? So it's never the actual experience or situation. That's why you can have, two people in Afghanistan get their left arm blown off, and both of them go into two different directions. One could go into drugs and alcohol, and one could go into being even more committed to helping people and recruiting and youth leading and whatever, right? They could be even more committed to that now that they got their arm taken off because they realize that life is short or whatever they're making it mean, right? So we're never actually chasing the experience. We're not chasing the money. We're not chasing the loss. We're not chasing we're not chasing any of that. We're actually just chasing the feeling behind the thing we think we're getting. So we are perceiving that, you know, if I if I've lost a lot and I'm chasing the losses, right? And I'm chasing that and I'm saying, oh, well, I've lost 7 times. There's no way I can lose another, right? And chasing that loss. And so you do that, um, but ultimately, it's not even about that. It's not about winning. It's about the feeling underneath after you've won. So let's say you chase your loss, and you make some profit on that seventh time, right? It's the feeling that profit would give you that you're actually chasing. It's not the money. It's not the physical thing. It's not the experience or the situation. It is the feeling. And it's what we always are going after. Always. It's always the feeling. All right. So we're never actually chasing anything specific. We're just chasing what we believe we're going to feel when we achieve the thing. All right. And that comes from meanings, and it comes from, you know, a lot of the other stuff that I talk about on this channel: variable rates of change, shame and guilt cycles, habit loops. Talks goes into a lot of the stuff that we've talked about: the pain versus pleasure principles in the subconscious mind. Goes into all of that, because the truth is, we only ever care about how we feel about the thing, right? Like, let's just for example, let's just take this for example. You're breaking promises, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting others, you're feeling all this emotional shame and guilt and pain that you're putting yourself through, essentially. You're feeling this stuff, right? And I'm making all of this emotional turmoil mean that things are not going well, right? And it all hurts. So what is my action? Well, my action, because emotion drives behavior, right? So what is my action? Well, my action is that I need to relieve this pain, right? So what do I do? I'm not going to the gambling because I want to gamble, even. I'm going to gambling because I believe that gambling will relieve this pain. It's, again, for the relief, not for the gamble, right? So what is it that you are making gambling mean for you? You know, this is something for you. When we do this work, a lot of people think it's, sixth dimension and magic and snapping your fingers and making everything happen. And that's not what happens, guys. All right. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's not how it works. Okay. True, real therapy, hypnotherapy, especially, but just in general, any real therapy, what it's going to do is help you reflect and be introspective and interoceptive, meaning that you can go inside, you can analyze yourself, you can look at what's actually going on, because it is going on within you, not the world, within you. And so we need to be able to reflect. We need to be able to introspect, interocept. Interocept is just basically feeling things throughout the body, right? You need to be able to feel, you need to be able to process, you need to be able to look inwards, look inside, right? Figure out what's actually going on. So my question to you is, what do you make gambling mean? What does chasing a loss mean to you? What does winning a jackpot mean to you? What does continuing in this life for another 10 years mean to you? So these are just some quick questions to ask yourself, just to start to reflect a little bit on what gambling actually does for you. Like, what does gambling mean for you? What does it even mean? And if you can, go through the chain, right? See it for yourself. I'm making it mean that gambling is, let's just say I'm making gambling mean uh, that it's got a hold on me, that I will never break free. Let's just say my meaning, sorry, is that I'll never break free of gambling. Let's just say I make gambling mean that. So I believe that I'll never break free from gambling, right? And if you remember any of the other videos in my channel, talk very heavily on belief and identity and emotion, right? This is kind of where all this is coming from. So I make gambling mean that my life is being torn apart and thrown away, and everything is going wrong, right? So I believe that gambling is throwing my life away and everything is wrong. So the thoughts I think might be, what if I go gamble again? What if I can't handle not gambling? What if I try to quit but can't? What if I relapse? What if I do this? What if I do that? My feelings are going to be sad, anxious, afraid, maybe a little bit of depression, right? Anger, even, right? And then those feelings are going to eventually dictate some behavior. And that action is going to be, well, I'm feeling all these things. Now, there's two things that could happen here: either I go or I don't go, right? So I'm making it mean that it's awful and it's horrible and it's the worst thing for me. I believe those things. I think, though, that What if I can't handle it? What if I am not strong enough? What if I am too weak to stop? What if I continue again? What if I relapse, right? And those feelings start to come into shame, guilt, anger, fear, anxiety, depression, sadness. And now I'm building all of the negative emotional associations, which, as you know, through my channel, I talk about this all the time. That shame and guilt process is what leads us back to gambling because we need relief. At some point, there's too much emotional pain. The brain needs to find relief. So, what it does is it goes to the coping mechanism that it knows can get relief from all of this shame and guilt and pain, and it moves you right to gambling. So, your action is that you're going to go gamble because eventually this pain is too much. And then you gamble, whether you win or lose, those results will feed back your meanings and belief. Now, in this case, especially if you lose, right, and you don't profit at the end of the night, then that'll make it even easier to understand. Well, I'm making it mean that gambling is ruining my life and it's horrible and it's the worst thing ever. And I believe it is, and it's going to reinforce all of that, put you right back into the same cycle because eventually it's going to feel so horrible that you have to find relief. And so you do. But let's say you won at the end of the night and you did profit, it would still reinforce the meaning and beliefs that the gambling is hurting you and not doing anything good because even though you won, you still have other times where you've lost. You still have other experiences, and so you have now this new win or profit experience going up against 15 times that you've lost and lost everything, right? Because you still went to go gamble, but you make it mean that it's horrible. There's still going to be shame and guilt around the fact that you did the thing that you know you shouldn't, and it just keeps going. It's just a recursive loop. It just keeps going. And so ask yourself some questions. What am I making gambling mean? What does gambling mean to me? What do I make chasing a loss mean? What does trying to get a jackpot mean to me? Right? How does uh, going to gamble make it mean that things are okay? Maybe that's a good question. How do I make going and gamble mean that things are going to be okay? How do I do that? Right? Not just what is it, but how do I make it mean that? Right? So you can start to dive a little bit deeper. What am I making it mean? How does it mean that? Like really, how am I actually making it mean that? And then as you start to find your meanings and your beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings and your actions and your results, and as you start to really flesh out how that chain works for you, now you can start to actually see maybe a little bit of components on, oh, well, I'm making it mean that my life is over. But what if I just made it mean that it isn't? Right? What if I just made it mean that just because I lost doesn't mean my whole life is over, or just because I went to gamble doesn't mean I'm a loser, right? Like, what if I made it mean something else? Then everything else would fall in line: the belief, the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, the results. It's all a chain. And when we're doing, real therapy, you can take any one of those chains and start to manipulate that. Right? You can start to help people change how they think about their problem, how they feel about their problem, what they make their problem mean, how they identify with it, the emotions attached to it. You can start to shift and change these things, and how you feel about the identity around problem gambling, or how you feel about your beliefs of gambling, or you know uh, how you feel about just winning, right? Money in general. That feels good, right? So, not everything that's a negative in the subconscious mind has to be shifted to a neutral or a positive. Not everything that's a positive that needs to be shifted to a negative or neutral, right? So, we need to see where a person is at, what they're making things mean, how they identify, what they believe, how they feel about all of these things. And we need to start to shift, right? And it's not always right away, but very consistently shifting how we think, how we feel, what we believe, the identity, the emotions, the nervous system. As we start to shift things, eventually what happens is you lose the urge to gamble, you lose the desire, you don't want to anymore. Just not only like, it's not like oh, I can't do it anymore, I hate this, I never want to do it anymore, I'm gonna use my willpower and discipline to do it. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you literally just lose the urges. You just stop the desire. Like it just doesn't feel good anymore. It's not as important, right? The thoughts around it aren't as important. They don't have the same weight. They don't feel the same heaviness, to those thoughts and those feelings. It becomes like, oh, I look at gambling and I think about it, and I could go gamble if I want to, but I don't have to, and it doesn't really do anything for me, so I'm just not going to. Because again, if you truly felt about gambling, let's just say the same way you felt about, I don't know, eating some bland food like broccoli or something. Let's just say you eat something bland with no sauces, no spices, no nothing, just a bland food. What if you felt about gambling the same way you felt about that, right? Would you even go gamble? No, because it's not important to you anymore. Because what are you doing? You're chasing a feeling. You're not chasing the loss. You're not chasing the money. You're not chasing a win. You're not chasing a jackpot. You're chasing relief. You're chasing control. You're chasing excitement. You're chasing fun. You're chasing happiness. You're chasing anything to get away from all of this, right? You're so chasing or running away from pain or going towards pleasure, whichever the case may be, and then both are correct, right? So again, you're not chasing the thing, you're not chasing the experience or the situation, you're chasing the feeling. You're always going to be chasing the feeling, and it doesn't matter what the problem is, it's always the feeling. All right, so I'll give you another example. Let's just say panic attacks. I work with panic attacks a lot, anxiety a lot, right? Let's just say it's a driving anxiety example. And maybe this person is afraid to go drive. And this is why if you do have panic attacks, you might not know this, but panic attacks themselves are self-fulfilling prophecies. And what I mean by that is you can have a panic attack, and then after that, now you're afraid of panic attacks. So what happens is you're afraid of a panic attack happening again because you've already had them. So you're afraid of them. And because you're afraid of them, that creates anxiety. And the more anxiety you have, the quicker you get to a panic attack. So being afraid of the panic literally creates the anxiety that leads to panic. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so what I'm talking about in the context of it, you're chasing a feeling, right? Let's just say, uh, you're wanting to go drive, you have driving anxiety, and so you're afraid of driving. And so you're not actually afraid of driving, right? This is what I mean. You're not actually afraid of the driving. You're not afraid of that experience or that situation. What you're afraid of is feeling the way you're feeling when you're driving. What you're afraid of is feeling a panic while driving. What you're afraid of is feeling the sensations in the body when you're about to do the thing that you think you're afraid of. But it's not the situation you're actually afraid of. It's the feeling. It's just you not wanting to feel the feeling that you're not wanting to feel. That's all it is. And it's the same for every single problem. You're always chasing or running away from a feeling, right? Because those feelings are dictating actions and behaviors. Based off what we think and how we feel, those gives us our actions, and our actions give us our results, right? So I hope this video is helpful. I know it was a little bit different. I wanted to bring in a little bit of the ideas of how we make things mean this and how that provides results at the end and how those feed everything back. Hopefully you guys can reflect a little bit. What am I making gambling mean? What am I making chasing a loss mean? What am I making, winning and profit mean? What am I making gambling mean in general? How am I making it mean that? How am I making it mean that? And can I make it mean something else? Right. And if you can start to, jot it down, put it on paper, see it for yourself, right? You have to reflect, you have to introspect, you have to interocept. This stuff isn't magic. I wish I could just snap my fingers and make everybody better. I really do, but I can't. And that's not how it works. And it wouldn't even be as good as it could be because it's not coming from you now, right? Real therapy is client led, meaning you discover for yourself your own solution. Your mind created the problem that you're in, the addiction, the habit loops, the pain versus pleasure cycles. All of that is because of your own mind, the way you think about things. All of that, because it's coming from your own mind, it's your own mind that also has the solution to break all of that apart. And by doing the reflective exercises, by analyzing yourself, by really understanding and diving deep and getting subconscious, you can actually start to find your own way out, which is hopefully what happens. Right? I want you to actually do some of the exercises, do some of the stuff I recommend doing here on the channel, and take charge of your own healing. Right? You don't need me. I don't necessarily want you to have to need me. Right? Like, yeah, I want to help you guys, and I would love to do that with you one on one or in a group setting or whatever the case may be. But the truth is, you guys are the ones that heal yourselves, right? That's the truth. You solve your own problem. I don't solve your problem. If I told you, hey, just stop gambling, you would completely reject everything I just said because that's not how it works. You've told yourself to stop gambling. It doesn't work that way, right? So um, we need to go deeper. If you'd like help with that, I'd be happy to help you. Just, subscribe, follow, comment. I try to get to all my comments if I can. Thank you for all my subscribers. I feel like the channel is growing, so that's awesome. This is my first sort of real way of doing this. I uh, never really did it before. So appreciate the subscribes, appreciate the follows. Thank you for, you know, listening. And if you know a problem gambler, or if you are a problem gambler, I'd be happy to help you out. Sign up for a free consultation at www.gamblingonfreedom.com. Check it out. And yeah, hope to see you soon. All right, take care for now, guys.